You're getting a lot.
Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.
Welcome back to Strange World, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Eugene Tay. Along with me is my co-host, Dr. Yong and Mary Mike.
Hello.
Hey, Mary Mike, thank you for the show notes. It's
Yeah.
well-researched. I'm looking forward to this second episode.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So last week, we explored on witchcraft, demonology, and even touched on starseeds. Now, you'll realize that we try our best to give you enough info, but at the same time, not to crunch down so much information that most of you get lost in translation. And this is carefully thought out by design because Strange World is a rather strange show. So if many of you who are familiar with Friday Night Live or even housekeeping, Strange World is going to sound really nerdy, like a bunch of geeks talking about university level stuff. That's also because we understand that our Supernatural Confessions community consists of diverse audience with diverse interests, and many of you have sort of learned through the years about the lore, the mythology, and Strange World is that final step where we start to explore ancient wisdom, hidden secrets, and all this stuff that might sound really out of the world to you. That's where Strange World really lies. So if you find that this podcast is a bit too deep for you, just hang on for the ride because we will be giving enough knowledge over time, sort of drop little breadcrumbs over time for you to perhaps in a year or 2 years later be like semi-professional or even an expert in your own right. Okay, so today we're going to take a step back and look at something even bigger, the nature of reality itself. Ooh, big stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Big stuff. to complete the nerding out, right? I think Eugene, you need to put on some spectacles also.
Oh yeah. I think
There we go.
Okay, now it's a bunch of nerds. Yes.
Yeah, now,
Okay,
now we
awesome.
really feel. Yeah, now we don't feel so.
All right. So let's once again, this entire Strange World podcast is about going beyond surface level stories. We explore the exoteric, conspiracies, divinity, pseudoscience, paranormal studies, scientific discoveries that challenge what we think we know. And helping me introduce today's theme, Mary Mike, take it away.
Hello. Okay, so yeah, like I think before we get into the meat and potatoes, I would say that listeners who are listening in, if let's say you have any comments, if let's say you have anything that you want to share, feel free to kind of let us know. You can WhatsApp Eugene, say for example, we say something that may not be right, or you may know it better, even better, because we want to know all of these different things as well. Right? Yeah, because if let's say right now we are talking about metaphysics, it's going to be one of those topics where it's like you need some background, and we do our best to research on all of these things, and we kind of also in that research itself, there will definitely be some bias. There will definitely be, a specific point of view, and we like to hear from everyone else as well what they think about this.
Yeah, I mean, always looking for experts to come on the show as guests so that we can interview you and find out what some of these topics really are on a deeper level.
Yeah. So like right now, okay, I think let's just get into the topic of metaphysics. So Eugene was talking about reality just now, and we understand that reality itself, is everything that we can feel, that we can see. But here comes the issue. What about the supernatural stuff, the supernatural things that we cannot explain? So metaphysics is kind of a part of that study. So if you go back to the definition of metaphysics, it comes from the Greek word meaning beyond the physical. And it studies the deeper nature of reality that we cannot touch, we cannot see, or we cannot measure. So one of those things would be something like time, whether it's fixed or flexible, and existence itself. Is it just molecules, atoms? If you break them down into its smaller pieces, right? And also, what about things like consciousness, things in the brain? We cannot see minds and thoughts, but we definitely know that they exist because it is there, right? People who are intelligent, people who are who are sentient, who can think for themselves. A consciousness, a thought is definitely existing. It's just that we cannot see. So if you go back to even in the time of ancient Egypt, right? These people, they sort of kind of like figured out um, what this was, and it's interesting because we don't ever figure that, hey, how come these people, no science, no scientists at that time, they can actually think of things like, for example, believing that the soul, which they call ka, existed in another plane and also influence the physical world. This is why they have things like the different gods, and what they worship and all that. Now, we bring it forward to the time of, say, Plato. Now, in his world of forms, correct, he suggests that everything we see is a mere shadow of a deeper, truer reality. So to him, it's like he figured that, hey, there, yes, we can see, but it seems like everything that we understand based on our own human eyes is really a surface of what's really going on in the back. Now, bring it closer to, say, Buddhism, which is widely practiced in Southeast Asia, right? Now, Buddhism teaches that reality is an illusion, and I think Eugene, with his with his travels to recently, I think he would have probably seen that for himself. Now, reality is an illusion. Really aligns with what we call the study of quantum physics. The idea that reality is not solid. Okay, everyone okay?
I think this is a kind of show that you cannot be playing on your handphone and listening to the podcast at the same time. You got to focus on this topic.
Yeah. You're sitting in the bus. That's the best time to listen to this.
Just like to add a little perspective, right? It's just like what Mike talked about, right? It's just like emotions, right? We feel it and we can go, to the extremes, but we cannot visualize it. But we definitely can perceive it inside of us, and we can see the manifestation of it: anger, fear, sadness. Yeah. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. And for centuries, back all the way back to even BC, right? People relied on religious texts, and intuition to explain the unseen, which means that all these practices, as we go forward into like the esoteric, the spiritual, the divinity and all that, correct? They use all that to explain what they couldn't see. Now, come to right today, 21st century, okay, or even the 20th century, right? Science arrived, claiming to define reality itself. And yes, there has been many arguments, there's been many debates, and there definitely will be scientists who believe in a certain way, and there'll be that scientists who believe in another way. And the funny thing is that as we reach the year 2025, all right, science is starting to kind of question and second guess itself. And you start to see a lot of these articles are starting to appear. But if we look back into, say, the history of science, all right, now we definitely have the Galileo era, we've had the Da Vinci era, and a lot of that was really about arts, engineering, astronomy, things that we could see. Now, one of the pivotal moments I feel that we can look into is about the Newtonian era, Newtonian physics. So Isaac Newton, I love this guy because I feel like his intelligence and his ingenuity is something that we don't deserve. The fact that he's known for his modern physics. He's known for his calculus, and really because of him, right? Classical mechanics. He describing the world as a machine. He actually believed that the world. Sorry, I think I'm going off the angle. I'm getting too comfortable with this. Okay, so he believed that the world operated like a clock, with the gears and everything ticking around, So based on all these fixed laws, okay, he created gravity. Sorry, he invented the idea of gravity, motion, force, right? And of course, he also came up with the thought of matter, which is solid objects that exist independently. So So here's the thing. In Newtonian era, everyone understood things like matter, reality, and science described everything as whatever is dense. You know the laws of matter lah. Okay, science. This is a primary school science, right? Yeah, yeah. But here's the kicker. When Einstein came into the picture, right? And what happened was when he personally discovered his famous E equals mc squared, where time and space are not fixed, they are interconnected, and it brought the whole entire theory that string. He brought the whole entire topic of string theory, and because of string theory, right? Correct, where everything's interconnected, it was further enabled, no, further validated, right, when the scientists split the atom. So here's the interesting part. Okay, now when they split the atom, they realized that there was actually nothing after the atom. It is a mixture of neutrons, a mixture of protons vibrating against each other to produce everything that we see. And that kind of sent a lot of scientists going insane, because if the atom is empty, it's zero, is nothing, correct? Then what is reality?
So reality is nothing.
Yeah.
It's what we make up. It's a bunch of atoms vibrating against each other to form this mic, this person, this everything. But at the root,
Yeah.
at the bottom line, we're all nothing now. That's what the scientists. That's the Newtonian law, is it?
No, that's the Einstein,
The Einstein
the
theory.
Einstein's theory,
String
the
theory.
I mean, okay, it's all interconnected in that matter, which is interesting because there was, okay, so there is some relation whereby the vibration of protons and neutrons, correct, is interconnected with just about everything inside. Of course, he also. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Never mind, you can go on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, Einstein also, like Isaac Newton, went a little bit crazy lah. He began to imply that, with all this interconnection and things like time dilation depending on gravity. So I think Einstein and Newton, they kind of agree with each other with many things, even though they don't live in the same timeline. Yeah, the same era, correct. Yeah. So, but Einstein sort of was able to explain things like, for example, why do astronauts age slower when they are on the International Space Station? So his implication was that time travel is possible, but at the point of his study, is that time travel is possible only to go forward and not backward. So it's a little bit like the movie Interstellar.
Yeah. Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, where Matthew McConaughey is crying because he's showing all old and he's still young. Yeah, so those were so see, these are a lot of these very unexplained, very still either is heavily researched, or the eye in the sky doesn't want us to know these things. So research has ended there somehow. That the progress of all this is still unknown.
I spoke to a professor who had a conspiracy theory on this, and I think I want to check with Dr. Yong whether that's true in his studies as well. According to this professor I spoke to, he said that if you want to maintain your tenure in university, you better keep in line. You are not allowed to research on topics that are not mainstream or not agreed upon by your peers. And if you do so, you will lose your tenureship or even be discredited. But back then, if you're talking about the scientists of the past, they were always pushing the envelope, discovering something new. So I suppose you can't be discovering anything new if you're worried for your bread and butter and your reputation. So you just follow what the previous mentor has told you, and you agree upon that, and that's why perhaps there's nothing new discovery in the world. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that most of these professors are too afraid to color outside the line. Dr. Yong, is that true in your experience?
I would say that because I personally have not gone through any professorship or tenure, so I don't know the in-depth, but I would say that probably institution to institution, and then depending on which world order they are subscribing to and the location of this university, there might be places where they might need to toe the lines a bit more. And to the topic of the atom, right? That we know that the atom is consists of orbiting electrons, which last time in school we will draw it like it's like orbiting around the nucleus, but subsequently what they found that is actually these electrons are not actually orbiting, but it's like an electron cloud, and they could be any place at any one time, and only when you observe does it be present over there. And between the electrons and the nucleus being made up of the protons and neutrons, but the whole of the atom, I think 99% is empty space. And that's why when you say that empty space is like this solid table, 99% of it is actually empty space. But then it's how can we perceive this thing? And it's like mind-boggling to actually cross that threshold. And splitting the atom. Nowadays, there is more and more advancement into this, and until now, I think there are 27 subatomic particles. So starting from the protons, the neutrons, then we go into the gluons, the muons, the Higgs boson, which is called the God particle, and we can go really deep. So the research is being done at CERN, which is the Hadron Collider in Switzerland, where they throw atoms at each other at the speed near the speed of light, and then see what happens within that. And that's where all the quantum physicist theories are coming out from, and I think that's a nice space to look at if you're going into this space.
Oh, I heard I think I read before somewhere they were saying like the Hadron Collider was also a gateway to hell.
I mean, from the conspiracy theory point of view, I think this is a friend of SC member as well. I think he's called Paul, and he messaged me. He says, take a look at the CERN. If you look at the logo, the statues in front of the CERN building, and how the incomplete architecture looks like, it is actually a mockery of the Tower of Babel, and it has satanic iconography. So I think if you put on your tinfoil hat, you can really deep dive into that branch of discussion.
Yeah, man. And that will be like the next season of Strange World. Yeah. So coming back, like, why are we talking about this? Because so we know that atoms 99% empty space. Thank you, Dr. Yong, for this confirmation. Now here's the other thing. So that these neutrons and protons, right, they are constantly in vibration. And here's where it gets a little bit crazy, because think about this, okay? And this is where we get into the science, going into a little bit of the esoteric here. Okay, so now the human voice box is also a vibrational tool and produces frequencies that interact with the world. Now, so the best way to give you a visual is that if you have watched The Flash, in 2000, and the one with the guy from Glee as Barry Allen.
Yeah, the latest one, is it?
The newest one.
Based
on there's a scene where his mentor, Dr. Harrison Wells, was telling him that if you can use your speed to vibrate at a specific frequency, you can phase through walls.
I remember that line.
And when you watch that show, you don't realize it, because we always understood that TV show is just a show. None of these can ever happen. But when we look into the fact that atoms vibrate at frequencies, it suddenly start to become a little bit possible that if we can actually vibrate at the same frequency as an atom, we might actually phase through it.
So you're coming from the very scientific angle. We've proven, at least in concept, in theory it's able to be proven. I spoke to a spiritual master once who said in the past why gurus were able to walk on water and walk through walls is because through their years of meditation, they had no phone, no internet, pretty much no television back then. So you do nothing but meditate.
Vibrate.
And when you and remember, like I told you about the cave, when I was in the cave and I was meditating, there was extremely no distraction, no sound, and then I was able to hear water drop like very far away. So I can almost imagine being 3-4 days in cave allowed me that sort of awareness. Masters who spend a lifetime in their caves just meditating would have
Yeah,
gotten some sort of wisdom direct from the
sure.
divine, the
Yeah,
deity, or somehow that they understood the same theory that scientists understood, and they saw everything for what it is,
yeah,
emptiness. So they were
yeah,
able, according to the guru who talked about gurus of the past, manipulate reality as they see fit because they understand that reality is not real. And that's how they can walk through walls, fly, levitate, teleport, which
How they
was
become Neo.
yes,
very
can
much.
see
Yeah,
everything, right? So I think that's we take on that line of understanding along with science and pair that side by side. I think there's very much some truth in that.
yeah, and you know from the way I see it, right? Correct. Human voice box produces sound waves. Sound waves at the end of the day is also a vibrational tool that moves forward. And what I found is that people who study New Age, people who follow New Age philosophy,
Yep.
correct, with their affirmations, chants, and mantras. I think even Buddhists also they do that. I think just for every religion in itself, also follows the same thought process, which is the more you chant a certain thing, words of affirmation, and even when you want to take care of plants, they always say talk to the
Yeah.
plant will grow better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are all the little evidences that show that when we say something, when we speak something, when we think of something, correct, the vibrations that we create actually do attract positive or even make negative things become positive
That's
things.
right. That's what chantings
Right.
and prayers are about, isn't it? You speak in a certain way, or even the Tibetan throat chanting is all about creating that
Yeah.
vibrational force. So when you can think something and you speak it out, uh, in some
Correct.
culture, in some practices, that is what spells are. You create reality.
Yeah, and also, sound waves they create geometric patterns in matter, and this one has been studied before. If you play rock music onto water, the water molecules kind of like will
Yeah.
change its structure, and it really does remind me of all the glyph patterns that people draw,
Mm.
to kind of
Viking
like
runes.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, of course. Okay, this is us digressing already, but yeah, correct. Yeah. So it's interesting that people in ancient time figured this out without the telescope, without the microscope, without any tool to use. There was no like internet library. There was nothing of this for them to research on this.
There was
But
always
it's
the Akashic records.
that's the thing.
And
Like
and the
that.
tool is consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And so, if we dive deep into the discovery of this, I think it does seem like they didn't just receive this from planet Earth itself.
No. No.
There has to be some outside cosmic thing.
Intervention. I mean that's why I know. I think you brought up this very interesting point and a nice segue into the next segment as well about the Arcturus Society and the cosmic spirituality that they follow. I spoke to Paul Nugent, who's the president of the Arcturus Society, and the Arcturus Society was actually founded by George King, and it blends esotericism, spirituality, and UFO phenomena.
Nice.
I know in the East, when we hear of UFO, it's a very far concept for us to understand. But in the West, UFO phenomena is almost as acceptable as how we talk about the Pontianak and the lady in white gown and black hair anytime, right? It's a daily occurrence for them. So the Arcturus Society, they believe that Earth is part of a larger cosmic network and that enlightened beings, cosmic masters, are guiding us. Kind of explains what you just talked about, Mary Mike, in how the people of the past knew things, because they are cosmic masters who had survived previous generations, previous wipeouts of the world, and they come back. So if you think about Matrix and Neo, there's always this reset. Society has a reset, civilization has a reset, but they were elevated, enlightened masters who survived the previous evolution, gone up to another planet, or in terms of the Asian philosophy, gone to another plane, and then come back as angels, deities, devas, what have you, or cosmic masters to give us that wisdom for us to survive our own demise. And they talked about prayer as well, and how the Arcturus Society believe prayer is a form of creating vibration. And Paul Newgan, the guy I spoke to, he wrote this book, Maya. I'd like to test you guys. How do you pronounce the title?
Maya Meyer.
Maya.
Okay, you guys are right.
Okay.
Yeah. So Maya, and he was saying that he was born a Christian, right? He was going to church and everything, and when he went into the Arcturus Society, first thought in my head, the alarm bells went off. Like, isn't that a cult? Like, shouldn't it be a cult? Because in the 70s, you hear many of such cults. Even the Mason cult was all very prolific. But the Arcturus Society survived through the years. They were not scandalous, and I think a lot of their philosophy was based on old esoteric practices as well. So it was not far out. It was not really hard to understand. He was saying, when I was a Christian boy, I prayed. And when I go to the Arcturus Society, I prayed. But instead of praying to God, it's about harnessing the energy of the universe. In fact, I did a 1-minute snippet of my interview with him. Let's have a listen.
But what's behind that is a love. Humanity needs to reawaken to a cosmic sense of love and everything. And the 12 blessings give us that. They provide that. And not only in the teachings, but in the practice. Because as a good Christian boy, to use your words, Eugene, but I would go to church and I would get on my knees and go down, and I'd put my hands together and bow my head, and I would sort of, say the prayers. In the Ethereum study, we don't pray like that. We pray actually with our hands like that, to send the energy out, because prayer is bringing down a visualization of energy and filling it with love from the heart and an intensity from the mind, and sending that energy out to the purpose of one's prayer, whether it's an individual or a situation or whatever it is.
Yeah, so that's Paul Newgan, and he'll be out in the next episode talking about the Arcturus Society and their practices and their beliefs. But just to give you a brief overview of what they believe in, is that these highly evolved beings come from other planets. So that's the part where, I think many of us in Asia, or in a more modern 2025 kind of very skeptical mindset, that sounds almost X-Files. But I think that movies like that was based on certain truth and then created into fiction, which then many of us just sort of go off tangent and go deeper end of the skepticism chart. But what the Arcturus Society believes is that these evolved beings from other planets, call them aliens or call them gods, some of them actually have come back to Earth, because Earth, we mortals, need help from ourselves, because we tend to destroy ourselves, right? And I think in many of the books, many of the religious books that you read, there's always this great deluge, the flood that wiped out civilization. What's that place? Atlantean was destroyed once. There was a previous civilization that was destroyed. Even we're talking about Egypt, for example, there was previous technology that people use sound vibration to move the bricks. It was not slaves, thousands of slaves bringing the stone along like what we think.
The Israelite slaves.
Yeah. So, and Earth is a spiritual being that is constantly evolving. And one of the things that I think in modern esoteric beliefs states is that these enlightened beings has came down to Earth to help us out. And these are called starseeds. And I think, Dr. Yong, you are quite familiar with that, in your calling on the stars. Yeah, so would you like to share with us some of your experiences and how this align with what I just said about the cosmic masters and esoteric beliefs with starseeds?
Sure. Thanks, Eugene, for the introduction. But a mental bookmark here. Just now we talk about energy. So energy cannot be produced and destroyed. It just changes form. We will talk about that probably in a future episode. And also the next part from that is the vibration. Visualizing vibration, you can see it in the cymatics, where you play sound onto a sound plate and you put sand on it, and then you morph to different forms. YMATICS. For those who are interested, you can look into that. And now we'll go into the alienology. My like what Eugene said, right, is that in the West they have the werewolves, they have the vampires, we have our Pontianaks, they have their UFOs, we have our Orambunians. So it's like different how to say concept or shared consciousness of the local things that displays in it. And when we talk about death, right, what happens after death, what we believe in plays out, and we'll circle back to this concept.
Oh yeah,
sometime
I got
in the
something to
future.
say that. I got something to say about that too. Yeah.
Yes. So I think this is about the same. We see what we believe or what our shared consciousness allows us to imagine. And I would say that I am of the same vein that for me, like 1-2 years ago, I would say UFO belongs to Mulder and Scully stuff, but it's not within my realm of consciousness.
Yeah.
But recently, like during my Egyptian pilgrimage, so that there was a bunch of us who sat atop, the boats cruising down the Nile River, and we were sitting in meditation, and they played one of those meditations or transmissions that was sending information out to space and informing of our precise location, so that the benevolent beings can triangulate our position and then can send us the help that we need. While we were doing that, right, at that time I was like, is this a three-body problem kind of situation? Who are we calling in actually? Would it be, be careful of what we wish for. But I think overall it was a pleasant experience. And then several people had downloads during that moment. Several of them had catharsis, crying moments. Some of them remembered their star origins. And then this got me thinking that I would like to believe that it's not a hallucination or a delusion, but it is a true experience of that. And that sort of ties in with what one of my clients experienced. So I do spiritual mentorship, and I think it was May 2024. And then, so our human being, we have our physical, we also have a quantum self, we also have a cosmic self. So in that particular meditation, I brought my client into his cosmic self, and he was among the stars. And there was this line in the meditation that states that now that you are here, when you close your eyes and you feel, where is home? And at the end of the meditation, he told me he heard Sirius. And I'm like, okay, because at that point in time, I'm still, I don't know, SIRIUS, Sirius.
Yeah, maybe you can explain who that is,
So he's an engineer, so totally left brain. But coming into this spiritual side of things, the worlds are opening up. And I would say that he had no prior knowledge or bias of anything, knowing anything of the starseeds. So this came organically to him.
Wow.
And so that was part one. And, I was very unfamiliar with this territory, so I left it as that.
Yeah.
I left it just there. But moving forward, somewhere in November, we had a pineal gland activation session, and there is like the second step. And there he had experienced several transcendental moments. And one of those moments, he saw himself in outer space, and then he saw his abode, and he saw his name, his room, and everything is white, and then everything has rounded edges, and they did not have a lot of furniture. They didn't need any of that. And then there were not much writings, because they communicated telepathically. And also he saw his name on a tablet on his table, and it says A-N-O L-O-K-I, Ano Loki, which sounds very similar to the concept of Anunnaki. I don't know whether they are related. But then when he could see that, right, he felt that he has finally come home, and he was crying, and for I can't remember how long, but he felt that he's finally home. And I think it sort of assuaged him, because previously he had the concept that I don't really belong here. I always felt a little bit out of place, but now I know where I belong. And then he also saw that his mission on Earth is as an observer, and he is a very, very old soul, existing prior to human civilization, and his job or role is to be a documenter of events, starting from the I'm not sure when it started, but all the major human events, right? His role is as an observer, as a documenter, as a recorder of events. But he felt very, very sad at this. Why? Because he is a being of high empathy and compassion, and he wants to help. And then he was strictly told in that vision that your role is just to observe, and you are not to intervene.
Yeah.
And he felt very conflicted
that's
at this because,
painful,
but then I was telling that, National Geographic documentaries, when the lion chases after the gazelle, the photographer cannot dump the camera and jump in and then shoo away the lion, right? So your role is a documentary filmographer, and you are not to intervene. That sort of gave him some but then there's this. He felt the need, like, I don't want bad things to happen. I want to intervene if I can. So it gets very interesting. So the latest discussion from that is that is he a starseed in a previous incarnation, or is he what I believe is that we may occupy several existence at different dimensions, and one of those dimensions which he embodies is a Syrian, and he comes from Sirius A. So he also visited Sirius B, and he could see that it is a water planet. And I would say that this opens up a lot of possibilities. And what I used to think that UFO is really out of my realm of reality is sort of like has melted, and now I'm more open to this. I would not say I know much about this, but then in a future episode we'll be inviting some people who are more in tune with this, who are starseeds themselves. And if I'm not mistaken, Eugene, you mentioned that you are a Syrian, and now with my client and also someone else, I know of 3 Syrians here in Singapore, and one day we might do a Syrian gathering of sorts and see what comes from there.
We're talking about Syrians, right? What is their role? What is their role? Since your client said he has a role as a watcher, right?
I would say I don't know for sure. I wouldn't think that maybe. One second. Sorry about the background noise. People are back in the home. Sorry about that. So I was going to say that that was particularly his particular role as an observer, but it might not be representative of the entire race. So we need to discover more. Of course, there are many other starseeds. Pleiadian, Arcturian, Orion. Then there's the other newer age ones, Indigo Children, which I would say that I don't know much about. That it's where I think it could lead into very interesting discussions.
Eugene, you need to go to Egypt. I go figure out what's your role.
I want to as well. The cost of going to Egypt is just very prohibitive. Now, according to Google, as a Syrian starseed, you act as the peacekeeper and guardian for our world. I'm the guardians of the galaxy. Syrians are beautiful souls whose aim is to watch over our evolution as humans and guide us during our times of turbulence. You help bring harmony, love, and peace to this earth. I think I can resonate with that. Maybe perhaps in terms of even documenting and but difference is I do interfere. It's like, I think Supernatural Confessions, putting all this down, this knowledge and talking about that seems to be almost like documenting and sharing the knowledge. Except when people need help, I do have the right resource to get them sorted out. So creating that peace, love, and equilibrium against the other side. So, you cannot have good without evil, evil without good, black without white, white without black, and so it's light and darkness. So I think that's where I see my position. If I was a serious starseed, again, I was told that, and it's something that I hear it, but it's very hard to understand it with the lens that we have from a very Asian cultural perspective.
Actually, no, not really. Okay, so I went to go and have a look because I was wondering how would we explain pineal gland to the audience, right? So it says here, so the pineal gland is a big control center, and it's kind of like the body's timekeeper. So when you feel sleepy, when you feel awake, it's all dependent on this pineal gland. Now, the other part of this pineal gland is that it is also kind of like a third eye. So,
Can I add to
you
that?
know? Oh yeah, sure, of
Yeah.
course, please.
So,
Yeah.
so the pineal gland, like you mentioned, physiologically, it produces melatonin, which is a supplement we take when we have jet lag, when we want to get a better night's sleep. But that same melatonin can be converted to what we call DMT, and this DMT is called the spirit molecule. If you read the books of Rick Strassman, which is a psychiatrist who conducted sort of like this is approved and then legalized experiments injecting DMT into the volunteers and documenting what they experience. So they experience the tunnel of light phenomenon, they experience alien visitations, they experience alternate reality experiences. And when you activate this pineal gland, what it does is that this DMT, which is also a main component of ayahuasca, it allows, so we have different parts of our brain, right? We have the temporal parietal region, which gives us our sense of self, which gives us our sense of being in this reality, this physical reality. But when this like shamanic drumming, it is also another tool that can help to penetrate or dissolve this sense of reality where you get transcendental experiences. That's where you get to leave your body in a sense. You can call it astral traveling, or you can even like remote viewing, the concept of remote viewing, scrying. It could all link to this thing. Of course, the science isn't that specific on this, but that's what I believe. And when you activate your pineal gland, you can do it through meditations. In my case, we use sort of a meditative process and also a sequence of events to do it. But what happens after that is like what could potentially happen in this setting. And Eugene experienced it as well. Maybe he can add on his experiences. In my personal experiences, one, I experienced, the concept of being the drop in the ocean and also being the ocean in the drop. And then I also experienced ego death, where you feel the pain of all the wrong you do to everyone. And then when that happened, when I came out of that state, I was like calling up everyone and apologizing for something that happened 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
And they were like, "Are you okay? Are you committing suicide?" I said, "No," to get things off my chest. And also, I also saw actually what I'm doing right now. My work right now is that being the bridge between science and spirituality, that came from that moment as well. I saw my greater purpose. I also got connected to my spirit guides, and I saw my past lives, and I had 926 on that count. But then now another person said there's more. So this is what could happen in Pinnacle activation. And let's hear from Eugene. How was it for you?
Mine was, I think, the very first time I had the experience. I flew, and to describe what I see and experience when I was flying, it's a mix between Inception meets Interstellar. That's the best way I could describe it in terms of the visual, the world around me. So which is why I believe Nolan actually have gone through that as well.
I believe so.
Yeah, so I was flying over an entire field of spheres, right? Like just imagine you fly over a cop plantation, right? So instead of cops, there are these yellow things. They are actually spheres, golden spheres, and I was told. So I couldn't hear voices. How I hear things or how I know things is I just get a download, and the download knowledge was that this are all reality fields, reality bubbles, and everyone's reality is true to his or her, and some reality are side by side. They can combine, they overlap, never fully overlap, but they can vibrate with each other. Some realities are so far apart that they are totally different from your reality, and that's okay, because whoever's in their reality is real to them. That's their world, and it's not going to be the same as your world, and two of you will never agree. So when I got that, and when I came back to reality, I now got so much peace in my heart. Like, I no longer fight. Like, I no longer argue. It's like if my wife or someone else comes in and go like, yeah, this is what it is. Yes, you know what, you're right. So I can almost imagine like the Buddhist monks who says, whatever you say, yes, you're right. I'm no longer going to argue. So I think they understood that wisdom and concept as well. But I got that concept through the pineal gland activation in a different way. The second time I went into it again, you were going around thanking everyone, right? Like, or rather saying sorry to everyone. I went around. This time I was not flying in heavens or the higher realm. I was actually on Earth realm, and I could walk around as if I was in ghost form and seeing my friends and seeing strangers and looking into their heart and seeing the pain, seeing the hurt, and I would put my hand into their chest. I'll take out their heart, and I would, with my other hand, again, this is all in my dream state, right? Peel the layers like an onion, remove the blackness, like clean it up, breathe into it, and put it back to their chest. And I was going around like this for a long time, but when I woke up, it was just 3 hours. Yeah,
Yes.
so there's no concept of time when you were in that state. Yeah,
Yes,
so that's
yes.
what I encountered.
Wow.
Is this something
Beautiful.
you can inject?
Yeah.
It's a process. They are like what Dr. Rick Strassman did was an injection of DMT. It has a
Wow.
very short half-life, so it is like half an hour or max, I think, a few hours.
Wait, so
sim-
it means they're actually synthesizing this.
Yeah.
Wow.
How can we get our hands on that? Is it
Talk to me,
legal?
offshore.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, wait. Is this going to be something like cocaine, meth?
LSD. Just snort it up.
in the new form.
Yeah, let's ask Steve Jobs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Steve Jobs also is he's also a meditator, right?
Transcendental
He's really-
meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a Zen Buddhist, and it is believed that him, like all these visionaries, right? The
Yeah.
people who see the world very, very differently, super duper innovative, they have tapped into that space. Whether it's through meditation, whether it's through augmented or say
Yeah.
aided, plant medicine or things like that, it's all possible.
Yeah, it makes so much sense, because okay, like for example, I think before the iPhone was ever created, I don't think anyone ever envisioned the way that it was the way that the first time the iPhone appeared and the way it was used. It's very difficult to believe that somebody can just think of it like that.
I mean,
Is that-
sometimes when we are creative, and this was me before I realized about Akashic records and I went through past life regression, etc., etc. I always pat myself on the back for being very creative. Like, it was my idea. You know what? God gave me an idea. Screw it. I'm not a religious person. It's mine. My credit, right? Come on, like pat self on back. And I mean, I have done like many creative innovators, entrepreneurs, we are driven by this voice in our head, the muse that tells us what we can do against all odds. Even when I started Monsters Under the Bed, or when I was doing certain things, even Supernatural Confessions, that story you guys heard before as well. Many times people say, "No lah, don't do lah, it's crazy lah. How can it be?" But I go like, "No. I hear this voice in my head. That's my voice. I'm going to do it." And I was then later on in recent years discovered that all these ideas and creativity I thought I had actually came from possibly a higher being sharing that knowledge with me, or me tapping on Akashic records subconsciously. But then as I knew the world bigger and I knew about these esoteric beliefs, I realized that it's kind of egoistic and self-centered to think that all that came from just me. Now that I know there's a bigger world out there.
Yes, and what you described is actually what Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love, she describes, is that in another book, she described this process where this idea of creativity, right, these innovative ideas come as a form of like a download, but then you're not the only person who get it, because we could also subscribe to the Jungian theory of the shared consciousness, and then this thing floats in this shared consciousness, and some people who are more receptive, they tune into the right radio station, they get to receive it.
Yes.
But not everyone acts on it. If you act on it, good on you. You get to create
I
something.
I
But
have
if
a
you don't do
story.
it- yeah.
I have a story of this.
Okay,
Okay.
go.
Okay, so back in the day, a long time ago,
Yeah.
about 2000, 2015, 2017, I don't know, actually even way more back. Okay, I had this review because I'm a journalist, and we were in that stage of like we need to create content on YouTube to, because that's where the views were, lah, you know. And I was doing like, video game reviews, tech reviews, and all this stuff. Correct. I had this idea: create 1-minute videos, easy to watch. I did act on it. I was telling my friends, I was one of those procrastinators that who like, we worship the result, but we don't care about the process. Yeah. And I was telling my friends, yeah, it's a good idea. It's a great idea. I didn't do it, unfortunately. Then guess what?
Nas Daily.
2 or 3 months later, Nas Daily came out with that. I was like, what? And all my friends were like, dude, what the heck, man? Someone's told you. I didn't say, no. I think, and I was very agreeable that yes, I agree. As a Christian, I would say that I agree. God gave me the idea. Or in your case here, you're saying that there's a shared consciousness, whichever that is, right? And what you just described just now, very much a prime example of that.
Yeah. So act on the intuition that you get, or else you get to see people.
Yeah. No, it's true. No, but it goes back to the typical philosophy, right? That most trainers and even those what do you call it? Life coach.
Yeah.
Life coaches, they always like to say, right? If you can think about it, you have to act on it. If you don't act on it, someone else will get it.
Yeah. Yes. And we cannot monopolize on that idea because and for certain creative people like Gitaro, I my time was Gitaro Enya time.
Yeah.
So, and I went through his creative process. So what he'll do is that he will disappear. He'll go into a forest and be in the forest for about 2 weeks, and there he'll get all the musical downloads, and then he'll exit the forest, go onto his synthesizer, and create all the music that he received, the downloads that he received. And I think if each of us could quiet down our brains, right, from all the chatter, worries about the past, anxiety about the future, we're going to get more and more ideas, more and more downloads, and things that actually will move us forward in life rather than keep us stuck, staying in a rocking chair, apparently moving, but actually not going anywhere. Yeah.
Dr. Yong, we are both parents and we have kids. And we also seen other parents tie. Oh yeah. No lah, but
left out.
No, but Mary Mike kid is too young. He has not gone through.
Agree.
He has not gone through enrichment studies, tuition, and all that.
Oh my goodness.
So your kid is still allowed to be a kid and allowed to play and tap on the intelligence of the universe. But Dr. Yong and my kid, our kid's like 9 years old. So which means parents around our age group are constantly making their kids' life so busy. School is from 7 to 1. After that come out tuition, enrichment, night classes, singing classes, swimming, and the kids do not have time to sit down and be creative. They're constantly just on the rocking chair, moving back and forth, trying to acquire skills, but never really thinking. And that's why we see so many people in modern day, especially in Singapore, we are book smart, but we're not creative, we're not intuitive, and we're definitely not spiritual. We're not able to tap on to this higher consciousness. We're able to apply the concept and the formulas that we are being taught. But what I'm hearing from what we are talking about in just this topic alone is that the intelligence is really woven into the fabric of the universe. And if we can put aside ego, like I have in recent years, and understand that perhaps there's an intelligent life force, or intelligent message or symphony playing that I cannot hear, and if I could somehow tap onto that frequency, I could then download this info. In the words of Neo, I know Kung Fu. Right?
Yes.
And I think this is where we segue into Mary Mike, and he has a second law of infodynamics that he wants to share with us.
Hold on.
I will have to hop off. So and then I'll leave the discussion to
do you want like this?
Mike?
No, do you want to continue this another time?
Infodynamics? Yeah. Then we just close
let's because there's quite a lot of content here already. I think. All
right. Okay,
I think it's enough for our listeners to kind of digest what we have.
We're almost at hour mark anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So infodynamics and intelligence woven into the fabric of the universe will be up in the next episode, where we run out of podcast again to give you a sneak peek into how you can tap onto this greater pool of knowledge. And I think I have a quick story. Then I think we can kind of like just end off there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the law of thermodynamics that we were going to talk about is really just that there is evidence based on the research of the COVID-19 virus that there is an intelligent design behind the entire universe itself. So it goes into things like entropy, whereby we understand that more chaos creates more chaos. Okay, if you want to know what that is about, go and read up. It's very interesting. But now there's a counter a theory that, as the second law of thermodynamics is that the everything tries to maintain order while chaos is happening. So it's very counterintuitive, but yet at the same time, this is how the world exists. So, like for example, if I have a wound, correct, if I have a scar, my body does not continue to make the scar worse and worse and worse, but it tries to heal itself. So there's a theory that it goes back into that there is some intelligent design behind the whole thing. And I think I think one of the I mean, let me say one of the more interesting stories would be the story of Abraham, who is central to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And I use this example because I think his story is interesting, not for the religious side, but really just who he is as a person. So this guy, when he existed, and this is thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, right? When he existed, he was living in a society where everywhere around him was living in divination and astrology. So he himself, as a person, he was very much a competent astrologer. As a matter of fact, he was actually a very skilled astrologer. To the point that one day, okay, for some strange reason, and this guy is like OG badass in that sense. One of his famous stories is that he went to his father's shop and he smashed every idol in the father's shop just to question that if these idols are gods, why is nothing stopping me? And for some strange reason, to him, he himself sort of figured out that there is an unseen force that is behind the entire universe. And so for him, is that through his studies, his divination, his astrology, correct, he discovered God. And I mean, I'm not going to say that whether this is the Islamic God or the Christianity God, the Islam God, he just discovered that. And we understand why he discovered that was because even when this being that he was connecting with, right, correct, knew him as a person who was an astrologer, which is why he used the words, look at the heavens and count the stars. You see, he could have just said, look at the sea and count the sand. But so that's the thing, that his discovery of an intelligent being that seems to be the one that he finds to be controlling the whole universe is an idea that has existed in ancient times. And today we have news, and research in science to show that there is something. We do not know what it is yet. We would like to find out. We would like to talk about it. But there is definitely something that is holding the universe together. Correct? Whether it's intelligent, whether it's not intelligent, yeah.
So if you resonate with us, you're just as curious about this and you're lost, or if you know about this and you want to share with us, just leave us a comment in the section below. We want to hear from you. The more we know about what you want, the better we can fine-tune and design this show for you. So that's all that we have for Strange World today. That's Mary Mike, Dr. Yong, myself, Eugene Tay, signing out for Strange World. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
What did you find? You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.